Hi there, my name is Kelleigh Whaley, and I am the registered dietitian nutritionist at Goddard Health Center on the Norman campus. Today, I just want to briefly introduce maybe something that's a new concept to you called mindful eating. And we're just going to barely scratch the surface today. But if this is something that interests you or you want to learn more about, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information will be on the last slide, and we can meet and discuss this in greater detail and how you can apply it to your daily life. Does this sound familiar to anyone else, or is it just me? Are we like me and you're eating more often at your desk or during a meeting or on a Zoom with your screen turned off or while you're scrolling your phone? Are you one of those people who were told that you had to eat everything on your plate growing up because there were starving children somewhere else in the world? And so you don't really know what full feels like. Maybe at the end of a long day, you sit in front of Netflix with a bag of chips, intending to just eat a couple of handfuls, and the next thing you know, you look down and the bag is empty. That's okay. It happens. It's more common than it ever has been before. But we want to try to introduce some ways to maybe stop those practices. We all know that eating at our desk isn't the best choice, but if you need some reasons to not eat lunch at your desk or on the go anymore, here's a few. The increased risk for illness comes from poor hand hygiene. If you're going between your keyboard and your phone to your meal, there's a greater chance of bacteria or a virus entering and making you sick. More time sitting. It's been said that sitting is a new smoking, and when we're not getting up throughout the day, especially at lunchtime and taking a break, that's longer periods throughout the day that we're not getting up and moving. So what mindful eating wants to do is it just wants to be an approach to help reverse those common practices. We want to bring awareness to physical hunger and fullness cues versus emotional hunger. We want to acknowledge that the responses that we have to food, either from our upbringing or from media and society, we want to acknowledge those responses without having any judgment of shame or guilt or tension. There's an appreciation towards feeding ourselves in a nourishing way, and that all that food does to our body. It is both nourishing. I like to say food is fuel, but it's also fun. And we want to have an active choice in what, when, and how much we eat as just a general health practice and better for our mental, physical, and emotional health. The benefits of this is if you're feeling out of touch with those hunger and fullness cues, that you can't recognize this is a step to help you slow down and help bring awareness to that. Maybe through your growing up or through society, you've put on these thoughts surrounding food that have guilt or shame, that create tension and anxiety and stress during meals. And we can identify those and address those through mindful eating and provide an opportunity to reframe those thoughts. And on a physical level, it could provide some benefits with digestion if we slow down, chew our food well, and reduce the tension and stress during meals. So first, we want to recognize the difference between physical and emotional hunger. Physical hunger is something that comes on gradually. We generally don't go from not hungry to starving, where emotional hunger comes on very quickly and it's very urgent. Typically, it is an emotional eating or emotional hunger cue is very food specific, where a physical hunger might be open to different types of foods and can be patient, and it can wait until you can get a full meal prepared. Physical hunger is typically based in the stomach, where emotional hunger has thoughts surrounding it, usually anxious thoughts, and maybe you feel tension other places in your body. And physical hunger has an awareness that we're eating to fuel our body, where emotional hunger, sometimes we don't recognize how much or what we're choosing, and there's an association of guilt afterwards. Physical hunger, typically we don't have that feeling of guilt afterwards because we're just fueling our body. So a way to be able to tell the difference if you're not able to judge it in the moment is to stop and take a breath and say, what does my body need right now? Does it need satisfaction from physical hunger, or does it need relief from this emotion that I'm feeling? What am I feeling in my body? Am I feeling a rumble in my tummy? Am I feeling butterflies? Am I feeling tension in my shoulders? Am I feeling anxious about a certain situation? What sounds good? do I feel like I need a meal? Do I just need something specific to help comfort me? Food is comforting, and there are many more harmful things you could do to yourself or to others rather than eating. So give yourself a lot of grace. So what sounds good is not a bad question to ask. Sometimes we want to enjoy our food, and sometimes it can be comforting, but it's not going to solve the problem. So I think we need to ask ourselves, how will I feel after I eat? Will I still be feeling this tension, this anxiety, or will I feel satisfied? Some mindful eating tips just to get the ball rolling. The first thing you want to do is decide if you are physically or emotionally hungry. And that usually takes a minute. We need to take a second, assess what time of day it is, how long has it been since we've eaten, what else is going on around me, has it been a while since we've even had a drink of water, what will best help you in that moment? Is it food? It might be, but maybe it's actually talking to a friend, taking a few deep breaths, doing some breathing exercises, or taking a quick walk. Sometimes it's helpful to say, okay, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes, and if I'm still hungry, I'll decide what sounds good, and then I'll eat. Choose what feels satisfying to help really satisfy your overall hunger. If we eat something that's not satisfying, typically we continue to eat until we find something that's actually satisfying. Sit down if you're able, take a few deep breaths to really acknowledge and appreciate this break that you have during your busy day, to smell your food and then inhale some relaxing breath and exhale any tension or judgment that you might be feeling about eating in general or the food that you're eating. If you can, eat only, try not to answer emails or check your social media feed so you can gauge your hunger and satisfaction cues, feelings along the way. Some more ideas is this is not meant to be all day, every day. We're not looking for perfection. Can you start with one meal or one snack or a few times a day, just slowing down and portion your meal out on a plate, replacing anything where you say, I shouldn't be eating this. This is wrong or bad too. I choose to have this and I'm going to enjoy every bite. One of the best tips I heard was if there is a bite in your mouth, you don't need a utensil in your hand. And that really helps to slow down and chew our food well and not feel this need to be shoveling food in as soon as we swallowed. If you eat with your non-dominant hand, that will for sure slow you down. And that's a practice whenever you have some time and you feel like you do rush through meals. And I love the idea of an end of a meal ritual. And this can be different for anyone. For some people, it might be washing your hands or the dishes, taking a quick walk around the block. Maybe you even want to have a small piece of dark chocolate or dessert, but really slow down and enjoy that and say, after this, the mealtime is over and I can move on throughout my day. And it kind of helps bring satisfaction and an ending to the meal, and it kind of prevents that continual grazing. After that, give yourself another 30 minutes. If you're still feeling hungry, maybe you didn't have enough at the meal, and honor that hunger. But it kind of helps to signify that this part is done, to help bring satisfaction into the meal. So what mindful eating is not, it is not meditating over every bite of food for an hour. No one has time for that. It's just bringing a general own awareness and removing any judgment that you may have been carrying that you weren't even aware of. It's not never eating with distractions, because sometimes that's fun, and that is, food can be social, and when we have people around us, we may not be as aware of every bite that we're taking. So it's not impossible in social settings. Before you order your food, before you eat your food, you could take a moment to take a few deep breaths, release any tension, and judge your hunger and fullness cues along the way. Mindful eating is not a diet, and we'll discuss that on the next slide. A diet, when you hear the word diet, almost always you already think about what rules it has in place, what restrictions it has, and a guilt if you cheat or maybe even quit your diet. Mindful eating is not a diet because it has no concern with calories, weight, macros, or even what you're eating at all. It's a very compassionate approach to food and eating. So that being said, mindful eating isn't a dietary approach to treat medical conditions such as diabetes or eating disorders. It should not replace it. However, it can go hand in hand as an approach alongside that. Because it's not focused on portion sizes or calorie intake, it's likely not an adequate weight loss strategy on its own, but it can be a helpful tool to recognize those hunger and fullness cues. If you have questions, please reach out to me. Here's my email address, and here's how you can call and make an appointment with me. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about mindful eating today, and I hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.